First of all, welcome to Rabbit's Used Cars. You're entering a reminiscent bullshit session from way back. Me and Matt were talking about it, and then Matt sees, and Kobe and everybody else around here, they see the inner workings of the RUC. And it tickles me. And in a lot of ways, I've got it made. I really do. I'll be honest with you. You know, as much as I would love to tell you that it's, you know, because I'm the super salesman, I sell them fast. That reputation has preceded me. So it's pretty much when they see an RUC ride, they know it's good stuff. And, you know, we put a deal together. But you know what? It wasn't always that easy. And that's the thing, you know, and I give a lot of new guys a busted ball. Some of them deserve it, but a lot of them, it's kind of weighing on my heart a little bit. You know what I mean? And I mean, I was a bottom feeder. You know, I mean, it happens. That's how you get started. That's how you get your feet wet. You gotta, and in a lot of ways, I say that in a motivational way. You know, and you're like, you called me a name. It's kind of like when you meet that girl in school and you pick on her. Well, you don't pick on her because you don't like her. You pick on her because you got a crush on her. I don't have a crush on you guys like that. It's not, don't get your hopes up. But to mess with you, a lot of fire in you a little bit. In the bottom feeder, asshole, in the bottom feeder, show me. But you know, you get to thinking about it. And you know, it's so crazy how everything has changed. I mean, just how it's changed in the last 2 years. How it's changed in the last year, last 6 months. But even crazier 5 years ago, 5 years before that. You know, we did the 20-something video. You know, maybe we're talking a little something about 30-something. You got to understand, my 20s were crazy. And my 30s were pretty rocky too. It hasn't exactly been a lot of lessons I didn't learn. But you got to think, you know, in my 30s, I was selling used cars and working at a truck shop, and I was no different than anybody else, you know, and I had to establish myself. In a lot of ways, in my 30s, I built myself to what I am today. And got a couple side stories that are going to span off of this one, so you're going to have to hang tight, or you're going to get lost. It's like when I went to work for the Ford place, a really close friend of mine who passed away, you know, Tommy, he was one of my sales mentors. He showed me a lot. And a side story to that is Tommy and my dad were really good friends. And they're both passed now, so I can tell this story. Then me and Tommy got to hanging out because, you know, I'm his buddy's son, you know, and I was always around Dad. And then Tommy seen, you know, how I can sell things. And he seen that fire in my eye, seen that little spark, that hustle. And he recognized it. And my dad hated it with a passion. Because I love my father, I miss him. I would give everything I've got to have 30 seconds with him again. But my dad hated that with a passion. He hated it. And all the way up to the last few years, he hated it. But he was proud of me, but I didn't go the direction he wanted me to because he couldn't succeed in sales. My dad wasn't a good salesman. He'd be the first one to tell you, he hated it with a passion. But Tommy saw that. And I mean, just, you know, Tommy'd come by a truck shop or something and he'd be like, well, your kid was at the night sale the other night. God almighty, he's running them boys wild down there, running back and forth. I'm telling you, it'd make my dad's blood boil. He couldn't stand it. It's funny how parents look at stuff like that. But, you know, getting back on track with the story, you know, Tommy showed me a lot. And Tommy showed me things, you know, when I was selling new Fords, which I was telling in my 20s. And then going into my 30s, me not reinventing myself, more like finding yourself. And I'll be honest with you, in the 20s, you don't know who the you are. You ain't got anybody tells you they are, you don't. You got a rough idea at best. And generally that's wrong. I knew I love old cars. That was the one constant in my life, classic cars. Love them. Always had one. I knew I could make money with them. I sold a few. That's what I want to do all the time. I want to sell what I love. But how do you get from here, from bottom feeder, to me? That's my 30s. You got to think. I started an event company with a good buddy of mine. He helped me out, and we did car shows. That got me some capital up. We had a lot of fun. Still going to this day. Hot rods and happy hour. And we laugh. And it tickles me because I'll never forget, we did our very first car show and the Hells Angels shows up. And nothing happened, but it was nervous. It was tense. You got these biker guys there, and they ended up being really cool guys. But, being a guy putting on a show for the very first time you see this year, like, holy shit, it's going to be Roadhouse, in here. We're done. It's over. It's done. It's gone. It's done. Just burn this damn tent. It's done. We've helped lots of charities, raised hundreds of thousands of dollars over the years for charity with Hot Rods and Happy Hour, and had a blast with it. But then you think about all the things, how funny how they work out and how those ideas get started. You've seen car shows, and this is kind of talking about diversifying and switching gears in your life. I took something that had nothing remotely to do with car sales, classic car sales, where I wanted to be because I couldn't afford to be. And we started this. And we had a lot of fun with it around the classic cars. It got me in the hobby. That got my name established. And it was just one of those dumb things. You just notice how local car shows started sucking more and more. The music sucked. Everything sucked. The crowds were off. All this stuff. And it bothered me. Because deep down, that's what you do with these things, is you take them to events. And if the events are dying, it was so funny, even how the name came about. And it tickles me, and I can tell you this story now because Discovery is way out of the picture. When I did my first deal with Discovery, I was telling them all about this event company, Hot Rods and Happy Hour, host car shows all up and down the Southeast, 40 events a year, yada, 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 this big event trailer, da-da-da-da-da-da. They said, stop right there. You will never hear that name on mainstream media. You might as well say drinking and driving. Talk about just pissing on your dream. Then 2 years later, we had a radio show with the largest radio company in the world by that name. Moving on. Walking in my 30s. Well, we got that going. That got rocking. Well, that radio show started growing, started getting popular, more and more popular. The thing is, did I know anything about radio? Nope. Didn't know a thing. But you know what I did? I knew I could learn. And I listened to the right people. Back to that whole, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Be in front of the right people. Did a car show for a radio station. Man walks up, boy, you got a set of pipes on you. You ever thought about doing radio? 2 days later, I was sitting in a jump studio. 6 months later, I had the #1 podcast in the building. 6 months after that, went from a 1 hour show to a 2 hour show. 6 months after that, it was everywhere. Better time slot, better everything. They put us literally on paid programming time. Literally. And the show took off. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed doing radio. It was so fun to kick back. Of course, we had Richard the Professor, Odd Rod, and Cubby Kai, and everybody in the studio, and I loved it. And it was so much fun. And then that goes from that to having a call-in guest. We got this crazy guy. His name's Ed Boley, and you might have heard of him. And did the Cannonball. And we brought him on for an interview. And Ed's like, man, Rob, he said, I bet you got some good stories. I got a little project promoting a product of mine. We're making videos on YouTube. You need to come down to Atlanta. So a few months later, I did. Sitting in a creepy warehouse and shot a YouTube video. Fast forward 3 years later, 90 million views. We launch another channel. 10 million views later, we're talking with the largest streaming service in the world. When you think streaming services, literally the first name that pops in mind. It's talking to me. It's so crazy how all this just, I'm standing in my car. I could tell you like it was yesterday. It was March, this past year. You know, I get a phone call. It's Los Angeles. You ready to be a TV star? You damn right I am. As I'm heating up my meal prep. Beep. It's so funny, this life, and how it twists and turns you around. And I gave you we had a divorce in the middle of that too, but the in the nutshell version of that. How those little chance moments, those people you meet, you never know. They may have played a more crucial part than you ever knew. And what if I never started the event company? I mean, I'll never forget my father, very first car show I was telling you about with the Hells Angels and all that stuff showing up. My dad was there, of course. Can't make no money doing this crap. Years later, it's still going. That's what happens when you listen to outside sources that you don't need their input. And what if I never done that? What if I never talked to Tommy and, just stayed working at a truck shop? I don't need to get into sales. I got a good, steady job right here, family business. And there's nothing wrong with any of that. But what if you didn't? It wouldn't be no eBay outlaw, no rabbit. It's a Ford place, so it wouldn't be no rabbit. Wouldn't be no nothing. I mean, it's so funny. These little things just through your life that change it. I'm a big believer in fate. And everything happens for a reason. Nobody got put in your life by accident. Either they taught you a lesson or they helped you move further. And I think the way you approach those situations also depicts which way you're going to go. Just a little food for thought. It's kind of crazy. I feel like I'm probably not the only car salesman that stares into 6 damn cameras 3 times a week, but it's just funny how life has changed. And now I'm sitting here in a red chair in my creepy warehouse talking to you guys. Love it. And just think, you're going to be sitting in your living room watching me soon. Guys, we'll catch you next time at Rabbit's Used Cars. Well, you don't pick on her because you don't like her. You pick on her because you got a crush on her. I don't have a crush on you guys like that. Don't get your hopes up. But it's like that.